There was a time when movie games were something you learned not to trust. They arrived alongside a film release, rushed to shelves, usually half-finished and quickly forgotten. They existed because they had to, not because anyone believed in them. So when GoldenEye 007 appeared on the Nintendo 64, expectations were low, very low. Most people didn't expect much more than a familiar name slapped onto a game cartridge, something you might rent once and never think about again. But GoldenEye didn't behave like a movie game. From the moment it started, it felt different. The music didn't blare heroically. The menus didn't rush you. The tone was quiet, controlled, almost restrained. Instead of throwing you into action immediately, GoldenEye asked you to slow down, to look around, to listen. That alone set it apart from almost everything else at the time. The opening moments didn't feel like an arcade shooter. They felt tense. You moved carefully through corridors, checking corners, watching guards patrol, listening for footsteps. This wasn't a power fantasy. It was a spy fantasy, and that distinction mattered. What GoldenEye understood, and most movie games didn't, was that it didn't need to recreate the film scene for scene. It needed to recreate the feeling of being James Bond, not the explosions, not the one-liners. But the quiet moments between them, the planning, the patience, the sense that one mistake could change everything. That pacing made GoldenEye feel older than the people playing it. It wasn't loud or frantic. It trusted the player. And for many people, that trust felt new. Objectives weren't just reach the end. You had to complete tasks, disable alarms, protect civilians, collect information. Suddenly, you weren't just moving forward, you were thinking. And that alone made GoldenEye feel more sophisticated than most shooters of its era. Even the level design reinforced this. Environments felt real. Facilities had layout logic. Rooms connected naturally. You could memorize spaces instead of reacting to chaos. That made replaying levels feel different every time. You weren't perfecting reflexes, you were refining approach. And then there was the difficulty system. Instead of simply adding more enemies, higher difficulties added more objectives. That one decision extended the life of the game enormously. The same level could feel completely different depending on how you played it. It respected your time. It rewarded curiosity. And it made you feel clever for mastering it. But GoldenEye didn't just succeed as a single-player experience. It became something else entirely when multiplayer entered the picture. 4 controllers, 1 screen, no split-screen etiquette. Arguments over screen watching that became part of the experience itself. Multiplayer GoldenEye wasn't balanced, it wasn't fair. And it didn't need to be. It was social. You chose characters based on jokes, not stats. You picked weapons for chaos, not strategy. Slappers-only matches, license to kill mode. House rules invented on the spot. GoldenEye multiplayer wasn't just a mode. It was a shared memory machine. People remember where they were when they played it, who they played with, who always picked Oddjob and got banned immediately. Those memories outlasted the film itself. And that's the most interesting part. For many people, GoldenEye the game completely replaced GoldenEye the movie in memory. Ask someone what they remember about GoldenEye, and they won't describe a scene from the film. They'll describe a level, a weapon, a multiplayer argument. The game didn't just adapt the movie, it outgrew it. GoldenEye proved something no one expected a movie game to prove. That a licensed title could be patient, that it could be smart, that it could be better than the thing it was based on. And once that idea existed, it changed expectations forever. What makes GoldenEye even more interesting now isn't just how well it played at the time, it's how different it felt from everything that came after. Modern shooters are fast. They guide you constantly. They reward movement, aggression, and instant reaction. GoldenEye didn't do any of that. It slowed you down. The aiming felt deliberate, almost heavy compared to later games. You couldn't spin around instantly. You couldn't sprint endlessly. Every movement felt intentional, and because of that, every encounter felt tense. Instead of rushing forward, you paused. You leaned around corners. You waited for guards to move. That slower pacing made the world feel more real than it probably was. It wasn't realism through graphics. It was realism through restraint. The weapons didn't feel exaggerated. The sound design stayed grounded. Even explosions felt controlled rather than chaotic. And strangely, those limitations helped the game age better emotionally than many technically superior shooters. That came later, because GoldenEye wasn't trying to overwhelm you, it was trying to involve you. There was also something uniquely personal about the way levels unfolded. You weren't pushed through a cinematic path. You discovered spaces. The facility felt like a real building rather than a corridor. The archives felt tense because of its narrow design. The dam, the very first mission, felt like a promise that the game trusted you to explore. Players remember these spaces not because they were huge, but because they felt believable. And that believability created memories stronger than most scripted moments. Another reason GoldenEye stood apart from other movie games was how little it relied on spectacle. It didn't constantly remind you that it was based on a film. It didn't force famous scenes into gameplay just for recognition. Instead, it built its own identity. Many players who grew up with the game didn't even realize how much was original. The music, the mission structure, even the tone. It felt like its own world. And because of that, it became more than an adaptation. It became the definitive version of GoldenEye for a generation. There's also something fascinating about how GoldenEye handled failure. Modern games often soften mistakes. They reload checkpoints instantly. They keep momentum moving forward. GoldenEye didn't always do that. Failing an objective meant restarting. Losing focus meant starting again. And that repetition built familiarity. You didn't just complete levels, you learned them. You memorized patrol routes. You understood timing. And that learning process created a deeper connection to the game. It felt earned. Multiplayer carried that same imperfect charm. Today, people talk about balance, competitive integrity, fairness. GoldenEye had none of that. And it didn't matter. The awkward aiming, the uneven character sizes, the chaotic weapon placements, all of it added personality. Matches weren't about skill alone. They were about moments. The surprise rocket launcher shot, the silent approach with proximity mines, the laughter when someone got caught staring at another screen. Those moments turned the game into something social in a way modern online play rarely captures. It wasn't anonymous. It wasn't distant. It was shared. And maybe that's why GoldenEye feels so nostalgic now. It represents a specific era of gaming, an era when you didn't just play a game, you experienced it with people sitting next to you. Looking back, it's strange to think how unlikely GoldenEye's success really was. A movie tie-in, released years after the film, developed by a team few people expected to redefine shooters. Everything about it suggested it would be forgotten quickly. Instead, It changed expectations. It proved that console shooters could be slow and thoughtful. It proved that licensed games could be creative. And it proved that sometimes a game could grow beyond the thing it was meant to promote. That's why people say GoldenEye was better than the film. Not because the movie was bad, but because the game became more personal, more replayable, more connected to real memories. Players didn't just watch Bond succeed. They became Bond in a way the film could never offer. And decades later, when people think about GoldenEye, they don't remember sitting in a cinema. They remember sitting on the floor, controller in hand, waiting for the next multiplayer round to start. They remember arguments about Oddjob. They remember learning levels slowly, one mistake at a time. They remember a game that wasn't supposed to be special, becoming unforgettable, and maybe that's what makes GoldenEye such a powerful example of how games evolve. Sometimes the thing meant to support a film ends up standing taller than the film itself. Not through spectacle, not through hype, but through quiet design choices that trusted the player. GoldenEye didn't just adapt a story, it created one. A story built from memories rather than scenes. And that's why, even now, it still feels like more than just a movie game. It feels like a moment in gaming history that no one expected, but everyone remembers.
Let's start, level up inside my mind. Let's start.